everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be a review of the high actioner sequel Extraction 2. The big budget Netflix production was released on streaming on Friday the 16th of June 2023. It has starred Chris Hemsworth returning in the lead role, starring alongside Golshifteh Farahani, Adam Presser, Olga Kurylenko, Daniel Bernat, and it was directed by Sam Hargrave. Now, the story of Extraction 2 follows black market mercenary Tyler Rake, who was shot and wounded falling off a bridge at the end of the first film after giving his all to protect a young Indian boy in Bangladesh. We see him slowly recovering from his wounds, retreating to a solitary life. He's then visited by a mysterious agent only known as Alcott, and is assigned to extract a mother and her family from a Georgian prison. During the furious escape, Tyler encounters and kills the mother's husband, David, who was a notorious gangster imprisoned for 10 years, and he was very much keeping the mother and her family captive. Now, David's brother, Zurad, learns of his brother's death, and he goes out to wage an all-out war to get revenge on the Extraction team. Now, overall, Extraction 2 is a solid, well-crafted piece of action entertainment. It sets its story out straight away, doing exactly what you'd expect from this type of genre. And for the most part, it pulls it off successfully, providing compelling spectacle that is gripping and that can get you on the edge of your seat at times. And if you are a fan of this tone of movie making, then you'll definitely enjoy this sequel. Once again, as with the first film, it puts an extreme effort and precision into the action and visualization of combat, keeping it mostly grounded in reality. And the plot is kept lean and tight and efficient enough with very little fluff or bloat. Everything is straight to the point, and I think that's something to be commended. And as we'd come to expect, the action is very much the best thing about this film, especially when we focus on the opening sequence, a truly gripping prison escape that is kept extremely tense, with the all too well familiar now one-take sequencing. And whilst this method does carry a certain amount of awe about it, the issue is the same that I had with the first film, is that after a while it does descend into that video game aesthetic. We see characters move from one level or setting to the next. They get hit, cut, struck down, battered over the head, shot. Almost like you have a video game character losing their life energy or credits, and then they slowly recover, get a life boost, and then move on to the next level. And the problem here is that the longer that the one take goes on, the less exciting it becomes. When staging these large explosive sequences, what you need also is those little pauses in between, those little moments just for the audience to try and catch their breath. This is when you should slow down the tempo or vary the pace just to keep the action interesting. Otherwise, it tends to become generic, like what we've seen so often now with very much standard streaming content. Now, I will have to say that I was far from bored when watching this movie. I was actually mostly compelled because the action was staged very well. And whilst you get the odd obvious CGI shot here or there, particularly when we see the characters start shooting at helicopters, the action never gets too stupid as what we see from the likes of Fast and Furious. Now, in between the action, we do get some narrative about the importance of family and how far people will go to protect them. Now, it doesn't go too deep into this material, which may have made it a far less exciting piece for some, but I actually think if you handle these moments right and just expand on them enough, it can actually up the stakes. And you can actually generate far more tension that is built much more on character rather than action. And like the first movie, we do get those little somber tones in terms of the music, involving the pensive stares. We get a figure coming out later on from Tyler's past. We get little flashback sequences into certain characters' history to create a semblance of emotional weight, but to be honest, the film doesn't really concentrate on this too much, so you never really truly feel it. Now, whilst this doesn't spoil the overall enjoyment of the film, it certainly could have added a far more weight to it. Now, in terms of the cast of actors, they're all absolutely fine and competent in all of their roles. Like the first movie, Chris Hemsworth is the pure physical embodiment of an action hero, once more doing the majority of his stunt work, and he completely convinces in every shootout and fight scene and running and chase sequence. He does fine as well in the smaller character moments, but again, those are very limited and not really giving him any potential to exhibit any real range. If he is ever to break away from his role as Thor from the Marvel movies, Extraction is a solid foundation, but you would need to include a bit more character nuance and also layer in depth in order for Hemsworth to exhibit much more of his natural charisma. The main villain, Zara, played by Tornik Goriachi, is also fine as well, and we again get flashbacks of his family history to try and establish his own motivation, mainly concentrating on his loyalty to his brother, and this works fine as well. We see that Golshifteh Farahani is far more involved in the action this time round, and she performs very good in the fight sequences. Admittedly, it was a bit implausible at times, having this smaller framed woman beating up men that are much more bigger than her, throwing them over ledges and beating them up with combination of punches and kicks. It did stretch reality at times, and I did roll my eyes once or twice at how capable she was, but overall again it wasn't enough to spoil the overall movie. Now, in terms of comparison to the first film, it's probably on par in terms of the action. The first film had much more of a wider perspective on the wider world, where we delved a bit into the issues concerning urban life and how we see young children being drawn into the life of crime and weaponry and drugs. Now, there's far less commentary this time round. Again, this will depend on your preference as to whether you feel that this keeps Extraction very lean and exciting, or whether you would have liked to have seen far more depth in terms of the material. But other than that, I can't really have too much to complain about this overall sequel. And of course, as to be expected, due to the popularity of the first film, there are certain doors left open for a potential Extraction 3, which will likely happen if again it garners very good reception in terms of streaming numbers. And if you're looking for a lean, gripping action and spectacle and not too much else, I think Extraction 2 will provide plenty of those elements for you. So there's my overall thoughts and feelings and review of Extraction 2. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How did you feel it compares to the first film? And would you still be invested in seeing the third movie? And do you think, given its very high production values, that it's somewhat of a shame that it didn't get the chance to be released theatrically and see how well and successful it could have been, and potentially have given Chris Hemsworth a cinematic franchise outside of the Marvel films? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other suggestions regarding any other movies, television series, or any other topics or issues within the pop culture scene that you'd like to see me talk about, then also let me know within the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.